There are many stories of self-proclaimed seers who warn us about the end of the world. While most of them are proven wrong pretty quickly, or only say vague statements that can mean anything, there's one man whose prophecies always come true. A man whose life remains a mystery, not just to us, but also to the people of his generation. The man is referred to by the name Nostradamus. He wrote prophecies that predicted everything from World War II to the French Revolution to the digital revolution. Now, astrologers, researchers, and analysts are left in shock as Nostradamus's terrifying predictions for the year 2025 are already unfolding before us. Michel de Nostradamus, historically referred to by his Latin name as Nostradamus, is known for predicting the future. But before he got this reputation, the French astrologer was also an intelligent physician and a well-reputed seer. Born into a Jewish family in 1503, he lived an enigmatic 63 years before he died in 1566. His family was forcefully converted to Catholicism, making them one of the few Jewish Catholics of the time. But young Nostradamus didn't want to identify with the new religion, partly because he had an existing disdain for the Catholic way of life. In the 1530s, Nostradamus became a physician without possessing a publicly recognized medical qualification. Having been a seer from a very young age, he gained lots of fame from his prophecies written in quatrains and organized into centuries or groups of hundreds. He was a man of science and intellect, but also one of the strangest and most interesting figures in history. Of course, no account of his life is complete without talking about his most prized work. In the year 1555, Nostradamus published a book known as Les prophecies, decoded as the prophecies. The book is considered one of the greatest works of art in human history. Inside its pages are hundreds of predictions, many of which have proven to be strikingly accurate over the past centuries. Every line of prediction in Les prophecies was written in 4 stanzas called quatrains, using an intelligent combination of syntax, coined words, coded languages, and symbolisms. He wrote his prophecies in this manner to make them a little bit more difficult to understand. Yet, hundreds of mystery hunters and scholars have been able to decode these ancient cryptographs over the years, and what they've discovered is just as shocking as it is interesting. For example, the French Revolution was a significant event in history, and is said to have been predicted by Nostradamus long before it took place. His writings hinted at the fall of the monarchy, the rise of those oppressed, and the terminal end of rulers. One of his quatrains reads, "From the enslaved populace, songs, chants, and demands, while princes and lords are held captive in prisons." This quatrain aligns strangely with the events of the Revolution. By 1789, the people of France had passed through years of inequality and suffering under the monarchy. The Bastille, as mentioned in the epistle, was a fortress turned into a prison, symbolizing the oppressive hold of the monarchy. And finally, in 1789, angry Parisians stormed the Bastille, marking the beginning of the historic revolution. The downfall of the monarchy soon followed, as King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were captured, prisoned, and later executed by guillotine, literally meaning prisoners of nobility. The anthems used in the revolution, such as Les Marseillaises, represented the mention of songs and chants in Nostradamus' book, but it didn't end there. Another significant prediction in his prophecies was the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte in the 19th century. Famous for his military genius, Napoleon strived to transform Europe before meeting his eventual ruin. Nostradamus wrote in his book, "An emperor shall be born near Italy. He shall cost his empire dearly." This is eerily connected to the story because Napoleon Bonaparte was born in Corsica, an island close to Italy. Rising from a modest upbringing, he appointed himself Emperor of France, an act that symbolized a violent ambition. His military campaigns stretched across Europe, leaving both glory and glory in its wake. However, his unstoppable conquest took a toll as Napoleon's wars drained massive resources, leading to significant losses. The disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 signified the beginning of his devastation. He was sent to exile twice, first in Elba and later to the remote island of St. Helena, where he spent his final days. Hence, the phrase "cost his empire dearly" appropriately describes how Napoleon's ambition became the architect of his doom. Interestingly, Nostradamus often used anagrams, and researchers believe his mention of Pa Ne Laurent rearranges to Napoleon Roy or Napoleon King. Whether coincidence or prophecy, the alignment of his words with Napoleon's life is oddly striking, adding to the mystery of his predictions. But his predictions have continued to be proven true even centuries later. In 1963, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of America, was assassinated. His quatrain reads, "The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt," an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. This passage is interpreted as a disturbing allusion to Kennedy's assassination. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy was shot in broad daylight while riding in a motorcade through Dallas, Texas. The thunderbolt is often seen as a metaphor for the gunshot that struck him. Another eerie section of the quatrain speaks of "the guilty one will remain in the mist," which some have interpreted as the true mastermind behind the assassination remaining unknown. To date, the full truth of Kennedy's death is still enveloped in mystery, with several theories pointing to the possibility of a political or organizational conspiracy. Interestingly, Nostradamus also predicted the rise of Adolf Hitler. Hitler's emergence to power and the accompanying dissolution of the Second World War is one of the most infamous events of the last century. Nostradamus appears to have seen this dark chapter in human history centuries before it happened. One of the quatrains says, "From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop, his fame will increase towards the realm of the East." The rhetoric here aligns closely with the early life of Hitler. Born in Austria to a wretched family, Hitler grew up in Western Europe. Through his powerful speeches and manipulation, he gained followers and rose to power, forming the Nazi Party and leading Germany into World War II. Nostradamus' line about his fame increasing towards the realm of the East may refer to Hitler's alliance with Japan and the Axis powers, which extended his influence in Asia. Another quatrain mentions Hister, which some interpret to be an allusion to Hitler, though others argue it's a reference to the Danube River. Beyond the French Revolution, Napoleon, Kennedy, and Hitler, these quatrains have been linked to other major events in history. For instance, Nostradamus supposedly predicted the Great Fire of London in 1666, writing about the ancient lady falling and a city burning. His prophecies also align with the catastrophe of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, described as a great achievement that caused widespread death. But more shocking than the past are the striking similarities between Nostradamus' Les Prophéties and the things that will take place in 2025. What did the great seer predict about 2025, and how does it affect us all? The first prophecy he made is about England's cruel wars and the return of the plague. Nostradamus' prophecies for England paint a disturbing picture for the year 2025. His quatrain reads, "When those from the lands of Europe see England set up her throne behind her flanks, there will be cruel wars. The kingdom will be marked by wars so cruel, foes from within and without will arise. A great pestilence from the past returns, no enemy more deadly under the skies. This phrase suggests England could face a double crisis: increased warfare and the re-emergence of a historic and deadly plague. The words "foes from within and without" might represent internal political strives combined with external threats, potentially connected to current geopolitical tensions. The mention of a great pestilence hints at the return of a deadly disease that plagued humanity in the past. Some are speculating this could mean a resurgence of a virus like the plague, or new pandemics made worse by modern conditions. With the healthcare system in England already stretching thin, such a situation could have catastrophic implications on a global stage. But it's not just England who will be facing difficulties this year. Nostradamus also warned about the escalating international tensions, writing of a time when great powers will clash. This appears strangely in tune with the shifting political environment of today. His quatrains predict a decrease in the influence of established Western countries and the emergence of new world powers. In 2025, this might be pointing to heightened diplomatic fallouts between nations like America and China, or struggles involving Russia and NATO allies. Nostradamus' allusions to a red adversary have been linked to the Chinese Communist Party, suggesting that geopolitical conflicts in the Pacific could intensify. This prediction also aligns with the ongoing decline in Western dominance. Asia is becoming an emerging economy, as are other economies in Africa. They are steadily gaining ground and reshaping the way global businesses operate. Trade wars, military buildups, and disputes over resources could lead to more instability, leaving world leaders to deal with risky outcomes. Though not all of Nostradamus' 2025 predictions are negative, the great seer also foresaw groundbreaking advancements in medicine. One quatrain reads, "Significant improvements in illness prevention and treatment will emerge, the old ailments forgotten by human ingenuity." It resonates with present trends in innovative healthcare. Predictions for 2025 suggest major strides in personalized medicine, where treatments are designed to meet individual genetic profiles. Artificial intelligence, AI, is also expected to change diagnostics, enabling faster and more accurate detection of diseases. New preventative measures for conditions like dementia may also emerge, along with innovative therapies for chronic illnesses like diabetes and heart disease. Technologies such as CRISPR gene editing could bring transformations to genetic disorders, while wearable devices could make monitoring health easier than ever. His mention of old ailments forgotten may represent the eradication of diseases once termed incurable. Amid his gloomy predictions, Nostradamus hints at a potential settlement of one of today's most devastating conflicts, the Russia-Ukraine war. He wrote, "Through long war, all the army exhausted, so that they do not find money for the soldiers. Instead of gold or silver, they will come to coin leather, Gaelic brass, and the crescent sign of the moon." This suggests that prolonged conflict may drain the resources of both sides, forcing a truce out of necessity. Researchers interpret Gaelic brass as a possible reference to France's involvement in peace talks, while the crescent sign of the moon might hint at Turkey's mediation efforts. By 2025, both nations could face war fatigue, leading to international pressure for peace. The economic and human toll of the conflict, combined with global advocacy, may finally bring an end to hostilities. If this prophecy comes to pass, it gives the hope that even in prolonged suffering, peace is possible. Nostradamus foresaw devastating natural disasters in the Amazon region, possibly tied to the effects of climate change, when he wrote, Garden of the World near the new city, in the path of the Hollow Mountains. It will be seized and plunged into the tub, forced to drink water, poisoned by sulfur. The Garden of the World likely refers to the Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth for its vital role in producing oxygen and maintaining biodiversity. Nostradamus' mention of hollow mountains could symbolize volcanic activity in the region. Brazil is home to dormant volcanoes, and climate change could disrupt tectonic stability, leading to eruptions. The prophecy's allusion to the rainforest being plunged into the tub suggests severe flooding. Brazil has already seen an increase in extreme weather events, with heavy rains causing flash floods and displacing thousands. These floods could worsen as global temperatures rise, melting glaciers and contributing to higher sea levels. The final line about waters poisoned by sulfur might suggest pollution resulting from human activities or natural disasters. Industrial waste, mining runoff, and volcanic eruptions could contaminate water sources, threatening both human and animal populations. Despite being a visionary, not all of Nostradamus' predictions seem likely. One of the events he has predicted for 2025 is the emergence of a mysterious leader from the sea who will form an aquatic empire. When describing the event, he wrote, "Amidst the floods and the watery grave, a leader from the sea shall rise, commanding the depths, the tides, and the waves. But fall shall come when the storm subsides." This prophecy coincides with the rising threat of catastrophic floods due to climate change. Coastal cities worldwide are already dealing with rising sea levels, intensified storms, and erosion. As waters consume land, Nostradamus' vision of a watery ruler may signify our increasing dependence on maritime resources and oceanic survival. The leader from the sea could symbolize a figure advocating for ocean conservation or a political leader representing nations vulnerable to climate change. For example, small island nations often champion climate action on the global stage, personifying a kind of leadership given to their connection to the sea. The idea of an aquatic empire could be interpreted as man adapting to life near or on water, such as floating cities or underwater developments, concepts already explored by innovators. However, the prophecy also warns of the fall of this leader, suggesting the impermanence of such solutions or the eventual retreat of oceanic dominance as the climate crisis stabilizes. But there is one last major prophecy we need to talk about. Nostradamus famously predicted the approach of a massive asteroid ominously named the Harbinger of Fate. His quatrain reads, "From the cosmos a fireball will rise, a harbinger of fate, the world pleads. Science and fate in a cosmic dance, the fate of the earth, a second chance." This frightening prophecy suggests a close encounter between Earth and a cosmic fireball, possibly an asteroid. Such an event could have catastrophic consequences, ranging from environmental destruction to the potential extinction of the human race. The line about Earth's second chance might be interpreted as the planet recovering and regenerating after the destructive impact. With ongoing deforestation, pollution, and climate change, it's easy to see why Nostradamus may have predicted this outcome. However, his predictions extend as far into the future as 3797, offering some reassurance that the end of the world is not as imminent as we think. Instead, his quatrains serve as a warning about the current path the world is taking. Modern science is continuously monitoring near-Earth objects, and advancements in technology have strengthened our ability to potentially deflect or meet asteroid threats halfway. But either way, it's terrifying to think that everything could be destroyed so easily. Nostradamus is one of history's most famous fortune tellers, especially with his predictions of many incredible events. He also wrote about strange weather and natural disasters, which many think match today's climate change problems. But is it all true? One theory is that Nostradamus had a special gift for understanding patterns in human behavior and history. Though unclear, his words seem to fit into major events. For example, I could say in the year 2025, many people will go hungry. Well, guess what? Every year people go hungry. Prophecy or no prophecy. So me saying that, does that make me a seer? Others think people interpret his prophecies after things happen, bending them to match events. Since the 1980s, academic inquiry has revealed inconsistencies in the claims surrounding his predictions. The publication of his private letters and early editions of Les Prophéties unearthed inconsistencies between his actual writings and the interpretations attributed to him. Much of the hype surrounding Nostradamus is based on unsourced rumors or misunderstandings of his 16th century French texts. For example, the prediction of King Henry II's death did not appear in print until 1614, 55 years after the event. This delay undermines the claim that Nostradamus foresaw the incident. Critics like James Randi argue that Nostradamus' fame is a product of retroactive clairvoyance, where modern supporters twist his vague predictions to fit past events. This phenomenon, known as post-diction, allows for nearly any interpretation of his quatrains. For instance, the prophecy about 1999 in quatrain 1072 has been linked to countless events, but none conclusively match his words. Moreover, skeptics point out that many quatrains contain specific dates that fail to correspond to significant occurrences. An example is quatrain 377, which predicts a Persian king's capture in 1727. While some claim it aligns with a peace treaty between the Ottoman Empire and Persia, the connection feels weak. Even the apocalyptic claims about December 2012, widely circulated due to the supposed Mayan prophecy, lack any foundation in Nostradamus' work. In fact, he explicitly stated that his prophecies extend to 3797, a date derived from the astrological calculations of his contemporary Richard Rousset. So there are people who want to sell headlines and will do everything to make 10 plus 20 equal 2 so that it fits well with the prophecy. And those people are doing more harm than good. Because like I said, some of his prophecies did come to pass. Most of them are so strikingly accurate, even an unskilled eye can relate. How come his mention, Pau ne Laran, accurately translates Napoleon Roy when rearranged? How come his prediction of a great troop being seduced by his tongue is markedly similar to the life of Adolf Hitler, who drove mighty men and nations against one another by the words he spoke? These and many other prophecies make it probable that indeed Nostradamus was a true enigma, whose talent at telling the future cannot be rivaled by any. This is all the more reason his prophecies for 2025 should not be taken leniently. But whether Nostradamus' story is fact or fiction, it is safe to say that his prophecies are something that we should watch out for.